and we have come to the last leg of today's conference. And I would like to introduce now once again Mr. Indrajit Sahuji to take the proceedings further.
Welcome back to the third and final panel of the day. This one was the most eagerly awaited, and I am privileged to host the same. The topic of discussion is strategies and opportunities in building a world-class urban metro facility in India. As you all are aware, today we are the largest under construction metro network in the world. Fortunately, we have the opportunity to learn from the best in the world and avoid the mistakes they have done. We have the best of the technology and manpower. Still, India being a diverse terrain have its own challenges and needs a lot of localization to suit the climatic, geographic, geological, and social conditions. So without any further ado, let us hear it from the people who are driving it themselves and making fast-track urban mobility a reality in India. Let me introduce the eminent panelists, starting with Mr. P.R.K. Murthy, Director Projects, MMRDA. Welcome, sir. Shri Abhay Mishra, CEO and Managing Director, Mumbai Metro One. Welcome, Abhayji.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Shri Mayank Jain, CEO, J Kumar Infra Projects.
Good afternoon.
Welcome. Shri Sanjay Saxena, Senior Vice President and Head of Heavy Equipment Business Unit, SANY Heavy Industries India. Welcome, Sanjay ji.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, Mr. Sahuji, and good afternoon to all the audience.
Moderated by Shri Kumar Keshavji, MD, Uttar Pradesh Metro Rail Corporation. Welcome, Mr. Kumar.
Good afternoon, everyone.
And I am joined by my colleague, Vibhor Srivastava, Group Publishing Director, ITP Media India.
Hi, everybody. And I'm very eagerly looking forward for a great discussion. Kumar Keshavji being the moderator and the Sutradhar, so a big fan of him. So over to you, Kumar Keshavji, I guess, right?
We'll have a 10 minutes Q&A session towards the end of this. Still, you may keep posting your question and answer questions in the Q&A tab. Over to you, Kumarji.
Thank you very much, Vibhor, and welcome my panelists. It should be a very good discussion. I will try to moderate in such a fashion that we are trying to extract the maximum amount of this total discussion. Metros, they have become very important for the urban cities in India because we are overpopulated. I will use the word. Very limited infrastructure in the cities, and as an outcome, GDP of the urban population, which it contributes to the national total GDP, is getting affected because of the mobility. So metros have become very, very important for construction because this topic is on the very modern, ultra-modern mode of transport. So this transport has also become very important because of, I would like to mention it because we are all passing through the same phase, is the environment in the cities, air pollution. So you all will be very astonished to probably listen that vehicular traffic is contributing to a very high percentage of the total pollution in the cities, so which we all get affected. Even Delhi, we all know, but even in Lucknow, there are the problems. So requirement for a very fastly developed urban transport system, which rail-based transport system is a main metro, which has a very high passenger carrying capacity, is probably becoming very, very important. To set the tone of the total discussion, importance of the total scenario, the National Urban Transport Policy, which we call it, it said that 2 million plus cities should have the metros. And we already have nearly 32 cities which are 2 million plus. So we should have around 32 cities which should have the metros. And the government of India is very, very progressive in that. So they have planned for nearly 50 cities they are targeting for developing the metros. You will be very happy to know that there are nearly 10, if I am right, or maybe 11, if somebody has started operations very recently. There are about 10 metros which are already operational. And another around 12 are in different implementation stages, which have been approved and are going to start now construction. So this is a good scenario in which we are working. And now, if I take the discussion forward, if I count this total scenario of how many metros are to be done and how implementation is to be done. So probably if we are talking about the size of the metro expansions, which we are visualizing as per National Urban Transport Policy or Government of India guidelines, my estimation is nearly about 6 lakhs crores of investment is required for this metro networks. Getting all this contribution from the government has got certain physical constraints. So because Mr. Abhay Mishra is there, he was my senior when I was in Jhansi, he was my predecessor there. So I will start with you, sir. And you are leading altogether a new type dimension to the metro projects, which is PPP. So my feeling is that public-private partnership in metro have to be encouraged, because 6 lakhs crores of investment in metro projects by government alone may not be workable. And I would like to ask you two very specific things. How has been the experience of public-private partnership? Because you are handling one of the most successful public-private partnership metro in the country, Metro One. And how to make it more viable for the PPP project?
Thanks, Keshav. And it's just for that, we have a very long association with Keshav. And when you are talking of Mumbai Metro Line 1, I think thanks also go to the Mr. Murthy, who's also a panelist, co-panelist, who was associated, and he basically one of the person who conceptualized it. And because of it, that project has reached to this level. So I must say that Mumbai Metro 1 has proved one thing, that when I started the metro here, people were been talking about whether the private sector would be running it with as responsibility as a government sector. That's a one thought process, people, because normally it is thought that public utility is a kind of a service to the people, and the motto of a private sector is to make profits. So these sometimes people, they do talk about it. It was talked to me as well. So how would they be probably running it to that efficiency? So that particular myth, and in the 6 years time, Mumbai Metro 1, because it reached to a level, it became almost the 7th densest corridor in the world in terms of it is a small line, but about 4.75 lakh people were traveling when the line was closed. So the private sector, the development in private sector had many advantages, I would put it this way. Before I talk about the PPP part of it, the advantage was that when we develop some kind of capability, only government cannot do. Many muscle building is required, or the capacity building required is in the private sector. So when we make a PP project in the PPP, many other things get developed. For example, if a project is in the government, say DMRC, so all the employees will be for the DMRC, some kind of a profile they see. But when the people joined Mumbai Metro, from here people have gone all around. Hyderabad Metro has taken, today Triple MOCL has taken. In fact, just to share with you, when I was talking to the MD of the Triple MOCL, you are taking all people from my side. They were saying, so your people are so good and so easy to get it also, because other metros we do not get it. So another thing we started trainings here. Our people have gone to the Middle East also. So a new type of dimension got emerged out because of this PPP, which was not earlier available. Another dimension advantage was the PPP. The thing are seen from a different perspective. Certainly a business angle is there and it should be seen. So here people, they think about it, how to maximize the revenues. So here I would like to share that the non-fare revenue becomes a very important thing. So here, because of the concession agreement, we have a limitation of the area. So we decided what is to done. So add value to those per square feet. So I'm very happy to say we started with an on-air above of 150 rupees per square feet. And we are today at around, before COVID, we were around 700 plus on average per square feet. This kind of a value we have put in there to exploit the non-fare revenue. So these kind of a thing and many of the experiments which we did in terms of the ticket products, and so those things were certainly, and many of the things when we were able to transfer and learn from each other. We are able to transfer. We have learned a lot many from the government metros, and similarly we were able to give our values to the private. So a combination of this is always good in the industry so that all perspectives are seen. Now coming about, so I mean, this is beyond doubt. A private sector metro, PPP metro, can successfully operate and give service to the people. Now, when it comes to the viability part of it, now there has been a lot of learning. Since I also have, I'm in the country, probably I'm the one who has the maximum experience of the PPP metros in the country. I was CEO for the Delhi Airport Metro also, and the Mumbai Metro also. So what happens, the PPP has its own learning process as far as the government sector is concerned also. And things have evolved from what period that time. So the concession agreement, when they were evolved, they have been made as a watertight or cast in stone kind of agreements. And this is over a period, this has been realized that a 30-year concession cannot be cast in stone because so many things changes. Just see about COVID itself. I mean, the COVID has changed everything, paradigm change has happened. I mean, I can understand Mr. Kumar Keshav must be able to deal with it from the supportable, but think about me, how I would have run the metro after 7 months of closure. Of course, I must say that all our stakeholders are so nice that we are able to start it successfully. So these things are become the concept. Now, how to overcome it? To overcome it, we need to see that one is the operational part of it and one is cost to it. All over, it is necessary that to make it metro sustainable, the cost of running, even with a government metro or is a private metro, both metro must be sustainable in operations, and those models must be evolved. If it is evolved, probably it will be easier to judge a private sector. And as you know, the private sector have a different capacities to work with, and the government sector has a different one. So accordingly, it will be possible, but I'm sure the models need to change. One of the things which is possible to change is about the fair risk, the revenue risk. So if suppose revenue risk is taken over by the government, rest can be transferred to the private sector. Probably those kind of experiments can be thought about to have a successful metro. And I'm more than convinced that private sector metro is need of the hour, must come, and it will be good for the country. Thank you. Keshav, I think I have answered your question.
Yes, thank you very much, Abhay Mishra ji. Now, I come straight to Mayank Jain ji, because I know that J. Kumar is working, whenever I go to Mumbai, everywhere only J. Kumar is visible. So probably the whole Mumbai metro, whatever is happening is probably J. Kumar. It was so prevalent everywhere.
Thank you.
Now, Mr. Jain, I want to ask you very clearly, if we are talking about so many metros to be constructed, even if we arrange 6 lakhs crores of rupees and PPP proponents have also come forward, how much the construction industry is geared up to take up this work?
Construction industry, I think they are fully capable, but definitely they may be short of this skilled manpower for that. Maybe the technical manpower as well as the construction workers. Though over a period of time, a lot of manpower has been trained and groomed into this industry. But still, we are facing a shortage of these manpowers, and which we can augment by more proper trainings, which we keep on doing in-house or maybe on-job trainings.
And how about the construction equipments, technologies, something to bring in, because labor, so much labor, more and more strenuous labor, work labor will not be available in coming years also. Maybe 10 years down the line, nobody will like to do this type of work.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. With the passing of time, we have to be more and more mechanized.
That's what
more and more precasting has to be done. Like in Mumbai Metro, first time in India, we have done the 100% precast stations. Because the stations contribute almost to the 50% of the metro, manpower requirement wise. So here, at least what we do, we could transform this entire metro station into a precast element. So entire station has been precasted except the pile cap and the pier, and rest all is the precast. So we can get the stations up very fast, require very less manpower on the job, and manpower requirement in the casting yard, because it is a more of a mechanized work, reduces to almost 30 to 40% of as compared to the on-site. Also, the equipment requirement on a precast work reduces substantially, because the utilization of these equipments is much more. In casting yard, we can use these equipments maybe close to 75 to 80% utilization of the equipment as compared to the sites. It hardly we meet 30 to 40% of the equipment utilizations, and there are a lot of restriction on the work at the sites. because due to the no entry times, crowded places, lot of restrictions. So it's always better. We have to go more mechanized, more this precast oriented technologies. One more thing I will like to add, we should try to how to save the maximum time on site constructions. Because invariably what I'm seeing, this metro was taking 4 to 5 or maybe 6, 7 years, any line to be commissioned. So how to reduce this time to maybe 2.5 years to 3 years time? That should be our targets. And in that line, what I feel, we should go like whenever a city conceptualize any metro project, they should have a centralized casting yard. What I am seeing, say maybe there are 10 lines are coming up, maybe 20 contractors, every contractor setting up their casting yard. Lot of finances goes into the casting yard, and beside the time goes into the casting yards. If any authority who is coming out with so many metro projects plan a big casting yard, which can feed up all these projects, maybe at least the superstructure part, that will save, I think that will substantially reduce the cost of the metro as well as the time period.
Very right, very right.
One more thing I will like to add, maybe presently we are operating with this multiple pile system into the metro.
Very right.
And in Dubai Metro, I have seen they have gone on the monopile and their extended pier. If that technology somehow could be technically viable and feasible in the country and adopted by our codal provisions, that can transform the metro construction because it will reduce the construction time substantially on site.
Mayankji, I will try to intervene here. When I was doing Lucknow Metro, I was so much keen to go for a monopile, 2.5 meter dia. Yeah. But that's why I said that how much construction industry is geared up. I had very good contractors, but none of them could bring those machines here, and I had to go for multiple piles. But you are right. Ultimately, we have to bring in these technologies if we want to do the cost saving and do it fast.
I have done a 2 meter dia pile in Mumbai Metro only.
Wonderful. I will come next time and see it also for my own understanding. Thank you very much. Murthy ji, you are also doing Mumbai. Everybody is looking for so much metro is under construction, and we all really are not able to understand how much metro construction is in progress in Mumbai at one stage. No, two things which I would like to understand: how the financing of these metros is being arranged in Mumbai. Mumbai may be a different issue because MMRD is a very rich organization, but there are other places where states are not that rich. So what do you think can be the way of funding these metro projects? PPP is one which Mr. Abhay Mishra mentioned about. And the other thing is, what should be the priorities in the design when we do the metro construction? It's city specific. How exactly we should do? Right now we are doing something and which is very similar in every city. But my feeling is that probably Mumbai requirement is different than Lucknow. Lucknow requirement will be different than Gorakhpur, something like that.
Absolutely.
Please, that's what I thought. I will take your feedback on
that. Give a glance. I took over transport head in 2003. This is the first time myself and Sridharan Savan, Mangu Singh, we started the first DPR for Mumbai Metro Master Plan. So time we made a presentation in Rangsharda here, public hearing in 2004. So that time the DMRC and ourselves, we planned for 146 kilometers. Then the government at the time, as you see, the dynamics of each state are different, the socio-economic factors are different. So we started with PPP. So I think there is no other city which has implemented different PPPs than Mumbai. Mumbai has a lot of innovations in PPP as well as even public partnerships. We had faced the problem in line 1, PPP locating a depot. You see the Mumbai being the most congested. We are still facing the problem of depot. In fact, I think our commissioner had a discussions with you last time how to optimize the depot locations. Initially, DMRC used to come with 20 hectares, 30 hectares. This is the type of area what we don't have that spaces in Mumbai context. Maybe Lucknow or smaller cities may have certain type of things. But Mumbai and Delhi and Calcutta and Chennai probably we metro system there. The city specific needs are that it should be transport oriented development. Whereas the other cities you could think of a different type of models. As of now, sir, we are doing 338 kilometers of metro being planned now. Out of them, 300 kilometers is approved, and the last going for state cabinet approval. The earlier models all were joint company by state government and central government, and going through this. However, what we found, sir, when we were doing line 3, I was involved in the line 3 right from planning till entering stage. We find that around 2.5 to 3 years is lost in, from state cabinet approval to union government, then funding agency, then negotiations. So we thought that looking at metropolitan city of Mumbai needs, how do we save this time? So we came up with a model that the construction, anyway, if you see the overall context of like expenses in terms of state taxes, the land acquisition, the R&R cost and state government contribution, it's coming to around 30 to 40% otherwise. So that money is spent by MMRDA in terms of Mumbai context, so that we have started the construction. Of course, in consultation with the funding agencies, we have shown the bid documents. Most of the bid documents are prepared based on the lines of the international bidding like World Bank, ADB and NDB guidelines. And a lot of incentives were considered in the bidding documents. So as of today, if you see, sir, we have started 270 kilometers under construction now. So we are expecting that by 2021, we will add 36 kilometers of metro. That would be 2 lines where which are nearly 90% complete now. The work is in the finishing stage. By June, June, we are expecting that both lines will be commissioned. The northern parts of Mumbai, where the link road and line 1 and the main Western Express Highway where port is located, these would be connected. Sir, after another 2 years, by 2024, we are adding another 106 kilometers. Again, these are all in the execution stage. All tenders are about. The rolling stock tender is in the finalization stage. But otherwise, up to this 70 kilometers, all the tenders, signaling, communication, everything is awarded. Now comes 2023 to 24. Sorry, I said 2022. The 106 kilometers would be added by 2022. And another 68 kilometers 2023 and 100 kilometers more, 160 and more precise, would come by 2024-25. So this is next 5 years a real challenge in terms of infrastructure construction. In terms of, sir, from the client side, what I feel, we need to have, as you said, the industries need to gear up to come up to these challenges and meet the timelines. So one is the qualified manpower and experience. The second one is the labor. Despite bringing the full automation in terms of casting yards, we did the best automation, sir. If you said you have seen the J. Kumar construction, we brought in, including station elements, precast. It has, we can discuss separate. There are certain merits and demerits, but we can overcome this. But it's a good technology, and we have saved a lot of time on the site. So everything is done off the site. So I am seeing of qualified and experienced requirement. We need to have the good training needs, and even this labor, the welders, carpenters, fitters, shortage of people. I am suggesting to some of these contractors, they should have this captive labor with them. As of now, what's happening, they're trying to bring from, except maybe L&T and, Afghans and other people, 2 or 3 companies, other people don't have captive with them. So why not we start where they have certain captive labor, certain things as and when required, they can bring in. Centralized casting yard. Centralization in each city can be a good option, like what Mr. Jain has suggested. We can optimize a lot of resources in that, and we really see many challenges when we are looking at, they are really very ambitious targets that in next 5 years we have to 300 kilometers of metro network. So this is what I see. The side, as you are so, sir, the land is the resource what we are using so far. MMRDA has been spending on the infrastructure. But again, there is one capital expenses, another one is the O&M. Minister was saying that the fare box revenue is going to be the in which we should look at from recovery, cost recovery, and maintenance mechanisms. Basically, these have to be sustainable in the long term. One is the debt servicing, another one is maintaining the quality and standards of operation. So I see from this perspective that there are a lot of opportunities for, of course, we require local town planning laws to undergo some changes to encourage some non-fare box revenues. But we see that this is the way we should move forward, and we make a recommendation to the union government also to look at, changing some of these, amending some of these laws so that would facilitate faster public transport and relieve these cities from this chronic challenge. Thank you, sir. I hope I have answered most.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Murthy. Very informative. Now I come to you, Sanjay, and don't go with my perception of the industry, but my view somehow is that Indian manufacturing industry is yet to absorb, improve, imbibe the new technology, which is required for the faster construction of the metros. And this will also bring a cost saving, as Mr. Jain was also mentioning. And there is a lot of talk going up on Make in India, which is very, very important at this stage for the country. That we should have this industry available, and we are such a vast country, well-qualified industry people, hard-working labor, good minds are available. So probably we need to have that. And with that, think back in back of my mind, I would like to answer you two questions. One is that what have been the recent advancements in the construction technology and equipments which can be imbibed by the metro construction, and how exactly these technologies are to be brought into the metro construction so that a faster and good metro construction can happen?
I will pick from where Mr. Jain had ended. He was talking about the time frame, project timeline, which is very important, how to bring, say, 5 years to 4 years and 4 years to 3 years. So naturally, since time is limited, our efficiency has to improve. So as equipment manufacturer, not only our company, I would even cover the entire industry. There are a lot of technology has been brought in to improve the efficiency of the machine and efficiency of the control also. So first thing, I would just divide it in three parts. Say first is the usage of telematics. See, GPS control. Through GPS control, now technology is available where sitting in your control room, you can see the efficiency of the machine. You can see how many hours it is working. What are the operator's habits also? Whether operator is adopting a proper process to do the job. What is the diesel consumption? How whether any unnecessary movement of the machine is happening, which can be avoided to cut the time. So this technology is data driven, and it has already been introduced in these machines. I would say talk about, say, piling rigs. The piling rigs, we were talking about the drilling and all. Say now with the GPS control, we have a control of the machine where we are able to observe that how much hard is the rock and at what RPM he is working and whether the efficiency is up to the mark or not. So this is one technology which has come in, most of the manufacturers are now providing to improve the timeline, to reduce the construction activity time, what is required. Another one I would say, which is very important, and all metros or companies are talking, is about the safety. So from machine point of view, whether these are high tonnage cranes or excavators or rigs or this, such kind of machines where safety is very important. So advancement have taken place in those controls also, developing certain fail-safe mechanism where operator cannot override the controls of the machine, as well as the various cutoffs are available, and even the better quality of sensors or more sensitive sensors have been installed, which can give the signals to the P&M department, what we call plant and maintenance department, can get alerts also whether the machine is working with full safety features or not. So that is also available. Third thing, what is more important, I would say, is the software aspect, where someone spoke about the training also. So here the operator training is also very important, where the machine has to be controlled by him. So as a industry partner, what we have done, we have partnered with Skill India. We have partnered with CII body, that is IESC, that Infrastructure Equipment Skill Council, where we have taken up the work to train the operators. So we have also tied up with the many industry bodies like Crane Owners Association of India. There is a Construction Equipment Rental Association, or this kind of many bodies are available, where rental companies are part of those organizations. So so we are inviting, applicants from them. We ask them to send their operator to our training school and train them on these machines, both theoretical as well as physical training also. Sometimes we also go to the projects, like our team has been visiting various projects, even in Mumbai Metro also, with the team. They are working with the team of L&T, team of Tata Project, for on-site training also. So considering these three things which industry have done as an advancement in the equipment which are required for metro. Other than that, what you spoke about the Make in India. So earlier, of course, there were some issues, but now industry is geared up. More manufacturers are now putting up their plants over here and absorbing technology from overseas countries, and they have also started assembly, then further localization of the machines and local manufacturing. This activity, I would say, is limited to currently to mid-size machines. But wherever the requirement is for higher size, say you go for a 600-ton crane or 500-ton crane, since the demand is not so high, it is not as much viable currently. But I feel, looking at the investment, what you spoke, 6 lakhs crores and all, this demand is likely to increase, will definitely increase. So more investment is likely to come in this. So this is from my side. Hopefully, I have answered what you wanted to.
Yes. To a great extent, you have answered for my question. One small issue which I would like to get your input, that now in Make in India, government is promoting a lot of technology transfer agreements, technology licensing agreements, which you can have with the international agencies and then bring the technology to India. So industry is prepared for it. I hope the industry should jump to it, because this is a very good opportunity is available to us.
Sir, industry is prepared. What I would suggest one step further, like involvement of equipment manufacturers also. You spoke about PPP. So manufacturers can also get involved with the designing agency.
Right.
We can, of course, you can invite suggestions. I am not talking about one company, maybe 4 or 5 who are available in this field. And they can very well suggest you the machinery which is available, and you can, of course, ask them your requirement also. If you want something else, something extra, and if you tell them at conceptual stage, it is very easy to bring it. Now what happens, when the construction starts, then you say you are talking about monopiling. So for monopiling, you need a bigger rig. Say if you have to do 2.5 meter dia single boring, you need a very big piling rig, which is not possible to bring in 1 month or 15 days time. So if the involvement is there from design stage, I think these things will be very easier for manufacturer also to take a step forward and bring in advance.
Thank you.
Kumar Keshavji, Sir, can I come in for a minute?
Please.
Yeah. I got a very exciting conversation, gentlemen, but I just was very intrigued to ask Mr. Kumar Keshav himself a question. So with your permission, can I?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So one thing is that I wanted to understand, we understand Lucknow Metro has adopted different strategy for completion of Lucknow Metro in a very short time, thereby achieving the distinction of fastest metro rail implementation. More importantly, sir, rolling stock and signaling as integrated contract by Lucknow Metro is one such step. Could you please share your experiences of these strategies in helping implementation of such complex infrastructure projects in its strict time frame, sir? Because that's something really incredible what you've done, sir. So just wanted, I think our viewers will also like to hear what you did, sir. Sir.
Thanks, Vipul. Yes, to complete the project in time and within the cost. I will use the word cost also because it's not the time alone. We went for more and more integrated type of contracts. Conventionally, metros never went for, in India particularly, never went for a rolling stock and signaling as a combined tender. And with us adopting as a rolling stock and a signaling combined tender, you'll be surprised that my first train arrived in 65 weeks. From the date of award of the tender. And we achieved the cost reduction. My cost is less. The other thing is that all interface issues were sorted out between rolling stock and signaling. And a very fast delivery, as I mentioned earlier. So this was one strategy which we adopted. From rolling stock and signaling, if I move forward, even for my civil engineering constructions, my packages were always big with both structures, MEPs, mechanical and electrical installations, lighting, architectural finishes, even roof portals integrated into one contract. Depots were also made like that. So our packages were large, better contractors, facilities were there, and contractors were able to mobilize the right resources because now all those interface issues, if I keep separate agencies, it becomes very difficult to manage. And I would like to say that probably this has all helped us in implementing Lucknow Metro in a very fast time. And because now we are doing Kanpur and Agra, two projects which are still bigger than Lucknow Metro, each project. So what we have gone one step further even. And what we did that both the metros are on the same traction. So we have got single contract for traction for Kanpur and Agra, lift and escalators, even for my rolling stock and signaling. In addition to being an integrated tender, it is also integrated for Kanpur and Agra. So based on that, my prices are coming down, my inventory cost will be less, my design cost will be less, my design time will be less, my ultimately total approval by the Ministry of Railways and the trials time, everything gets reduced. So this has worked very well, which I will suggest everyone to probably go for it because our experience has been very good in this. And so Kanpur Agra are basically being handled as one project.
Very nice. So thank you. I really admire, the way and your approach. And over to you, Mr. Keshav. I just couldn't resist myself coming in and posing this question to you.
So one last, if time permits, can I ask a last question to all of them? Exactly the same question. No issue. Only a small line of reply because people from industry are there also there. No, we all face this problem yes, Abhay Mishraji's metro is very profitable because he's having very good ridership. But all other metros, including Delhi Metro to us, probably we are finding it difficult to sustain financially. So what each one of you suggests for metros to remain sustainable? Sanjay Saxena ji, aap bataiye.
What I feel the efficiency is the factor over here. How fast you complete your project and how fast you start the metro. That will recover your cost very fast. If we can take example of national highways. See, earlier the project timeline used to be 3 years or 3.5 years. Now it is 24 months in certain projects. So still people are achieving. So how fast we complete the project, I think that is one of the key where the recovery will start faster. You can start doing the, I would say business earlier than what you were otherwise doing. So that's what I think.
Yeah, my opinion on this is this, we have to somehow work out how to improve the ridership on the trains. And one thing what can work, we should demote the use of the private cars onto the road, maybe levying some congestion charges, something like that. So the less number of people are using the car and they are shifting to the metro. Then only this the real aim of the metro we can achieve by having a decongested city and less pollution of the city. One more thing I will like to add, which I forget in my earlier answer to your query about how to have a more modern metro construction. So at J. Kumar, we have just brought in 2 big straddle carrier like this. These are straddle carriers which will be replacing the erection by the cranes. It will be a sort of moving gantry onto the road, and it have a single gantry has a capacity of lifting up to the 165 tons at a height of 23 meter. So in which this maybe the erection which used to take maybe weeks, we can complete in 1 day time.
Sir, internationally, I would say, from the transport perspective, these metros are not sustainably on the fare box. So we are talking, I think, if I have heard correctly, sir, we are talking about the sustainability in terms of
financial sustainability.
Financial sustainability. See, the construction cost optimization is one part, sir, which we are doing. In fact, I used to ask this question to many of our colleagues: why are we not, integrating SMT and rolling stock tender? So I used to ask this question, but you have now led the path forward for many of the other organizations. And one more revelatory, I would say, the task you have taken up is combining the Kanpur and Agra metros tenders itself. That really brings in a lot of synergies and cost of. Sir, international world over, public transport is not meeting the expenses by virtue of the fare box. We should now stop talking about this. This is more of, it is guiding the development. Any metro you bring in either in Kanpur or Agra or Lucknow or even in Mumbai, sir, it's going to change the entire face of that corridor. So the only way is we should go for non-fare box revenue and also through some international, charge, like, development charges. Then there are, sale and resale of buildings. We should have some perpetual revenue to pay what we have taken from the soft loans. Also to run in the long term. And it's a healthy and, by running less number of coaches trains more frequently, and we should be able to, change these scooter people, these, other than metros, I am talking about this. A lot of people go use the two-wheelers, cycles, and this type of things. So we should run more frequent, less number, maybe 3 coach trains or so, more frequently, and make the fares competitive with those, auto rickshaw, or, whatever modes people are using on the road. But the box should not be really a great revenue. We should look at from the land as resource, commercial development of the metro structure. We can't do the development on the road, but off the road, we should have some plots given by the government, and also to look at from the stamp duty, the advertisement, then the, as I said, the development charges. These are the bigger sources of revenues because these metros are bringing a lot of total transformation in cities in terms of employment, in terms of standards and everything.
Yeah, Abhay Mishra ji, waiting for your response to this because you are the metro which is still very profitable. I still consider it very, I could never visit that. I visited that at the time of construction, but I will come one day and see this Mumbai metro.
I'm saying you have promising for quite some time. Most welcome. Visit us soon. Now to tell about it, my experience, as Mr. Murthy has told, about the fare of a metro. You see, this will always be, public transport has to be for the public. So fare has to be affordable fare. So it cannot take all the burden. So first of all, it goes like this, that the cost, this is a capital intensive project. So first of all, cost has to come down. So by the various things, whatever the cost optimization, what we are doing, one more cost optimization is required. What we have been thinking about, everywhere you do not need a similar kind of a metro, the light metro concept. Even I have suggested that even when the traffic is less, initially people can start with construct the complete deck. Even if you run electric buses over it, it will serve the public transport part of it. So depending upon the need of the people to travel, the investment should be restricted to that one so that it will reduce the cost to be recovered. Second thing is, what is the cost to be recovered? Actually, the cost should not be recovered from the fare box. We should divide it into two portions. One is only the operation and maintenance cost should be recovered from the fare box. Now the investment, the capital investment, we should think about the various means. There can be various means. One means is that, for example, if I take example of Mumbai Metro Line 1, at that time, probably it was not thought that our stations, we have not grown vertically. Probably could have been thought at that period of time, okay, had we gone little bit more revenues could have come, or more that would have been possible. Elsewhere, whatever, because whenever any such infrastructure is laid down, it adds value to the adjoining property, it adds value to the adjoining businesses. Now that value need to be monetized in advance so that the project can be funded. And the better model we make, the better it is. As you know, that one of the model which we are making is that we are trying to tax the properties at a higher way. That is more of a taxation perspective. Taxation perspective, people do not pay from that willingness. It should be from if you are make some kind of convenience, people are earning more, and from there you tax it, probably people don't mind it. So here we have to think about how the metros are adding value to a particular stretches, and monetization of that particular, if we do, people will not mind. I mean, identity, because this will be unique to a unique project, but certainly can be thought about it. So I mean, paying all the cost from those measures and restricting the fare box only for the O&M expenditure. So this will make the project sustainable, and we know in advance how much is to be funded. You find the various means. If we do that, probably it would be possible to fund and keep it at run at affordability.
Thank you, Vibhorji. I hope we are busting your time. So no, I hand over the mic to you only.
Well, what do I say, sir? Absolutely love this session, and thank you very much. And I think, Indrajit, can you sum it up from 1 second, please? I mean, I just realized, technology plays hide and seek at times. In this world of technology, every day we are deciphering new things, and wonderful. There are some very good merits in that. There are a few demerits, but we keep playing. But Kumar Keshavji, thanks a ton. I mean, always, as I said, a big fan of yours. Indrajit, would you sum up the whole discussion and do the vote of thanks? And thank you from my side, gentlemen. I think you really made a lot of, ideas to prod over, suggestions to look after, and, a great horizon, what one would expect from, and that's where the kind of speed that you all are doing it. So fabulous. A big congratulations to you. And I think audience would have simply devoured this session and loved every moment of it. My team would obviously take care and exhaustive coverage for this as well. Indrajit, my colleague, will take over from here.
Thank you all the panelists. It was such a lively session, as Vibhor mentioned, and we all got to learn so much from your expertise and experience. Thank you, Mr. Kumar, for moderating this session and steering it so well, sir.
Thank you very much, Indrajit.
Thank you, audience. A huge round of applause for all of you. You were such a lovely and supporting audience. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank all my sponsors, Blue Star, our HVAC partner, our cable technology partner, APAR, our associate partner, J. Kumar, our knowledge partner, Tata Projects, and our exhibit partner, Lipi, for believing in us and helping us put together this platform. Thank you all the panelists and our keynote speaker for taking time out on a working day and to help us make this forum a huge success. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank my team, starting with Mr. Vibhor Srivastava, Group Publishing Director, for leading it from the front and motivating us all throughout our ups and downs. Jayshree Mendes, Editor, Construction Week, for our able guidance. Rohan Patel, our young conference producer. Abhishek Achutan had special projects for anchoring today's session so well and bringing in some key partners. Tarun Lidwani, our manager sales, for bringing in our partners for this session. Mitali Shah for helping us market this event extensively. Milind Patil and Praveen Maurya for lovely creatives. Amrita for managing the help desk and getting us delegates for the conference. Mohit, Rajat and team Maximum Brands for our technology partners. Thank you so much for helping us host this today. Thank you all for your untiring efforts in building this forum. This is Indrajit Sahuji signing off for today with a promise to come back with a bigger and on-ground event in 2021 where we all can meet face-to-face. Till then, goodbye, take care, stay safe, stay healthy.